Welcome to another episode of
Take 47.
Today it's the last episode of our Marvel, Cinematic Universe Revisited series that we've been doing for the past few weeks now. This is Phase 3, Part 2. And this is, of course, the biggest movies in the series we're going to be talking about. And it's going to be super fun. So, I say without further ado, let us jump into this. Starting with, Cole, you said Thor Ragnarok?
Thor Ragnarok, that's
Ragnarok.
Because in last episode we finished our episode with Spiderman Homecoming.
Yep.
Thor Ragnarok is... I think I said this in the last episode that you described it as a movie that... Are you going to say it?
Well, I was going to let you finish your sentence, but yeah, I said they don't need to make any more movies.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But
You stand by that?
I don't stand by that because Black Panther came next.
Oh, so clearly they did have to make at least one more movie.
Also, Endgame was a very satisfying conclusion to the whole saga.
Okay, so two.
This film was directed by Taika Waititi, who...
He's a brilliant man.
I mean, this is how I came to know Taika Waititi. I never heard of him up until this point. I know he's obviously made, movies before, What We Do in the Shadows being one of the really big ones. But man, did this movie make me realize that there's like I have a new favorite director. In one movie, he's already up there on my list of favorite directors ever. And because he did the one thing that I didn't think was going to happen, and he made a Thor movie good.
Yeah.
And that was
not exactly
impressive.
a hot take at this point on Take 47.
No, not even close. We all have pretty much the same opinion with Thor 1 and Thor the Dark World. And seemingly, I think we are all in agreement that, Ragnarok is just awesome.
Ragnarok might be
It's
my
just so
favorite
good.
of the Marvel movies.
Ragnarok just finally allowed Thor to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know why, but that they didn't seem to want that. They wanted it in every other movie, in every other in every other solo franchise. But when it came to Thor, they allowed a few jokes, but mostly just wanted him to be stuffy and weird and alien. And I just think that he's a doofus and he should be allowed to be so.
Even in the Avengers movies, he was given some I feel a lot of leeway to kind of being a kind of goofy type character in the first place. And as you had mentioned, I believe last episode, Chris Hemsworth has perfect comedic timing. It's so good. And in this movie, of course, you see that tenfold pretty much through the entire movie. One of my favorite scenes is when he's talking to Valkyrie and Banner about how Loki turned into a snake and bit him, and that whole story it's just so good. The delivery of that story is great. This whole movie is just super super awesome.
Yeah. I think the friend from work line that they used when he runs into Hulk, I think that was actually, I think it was a Make-A-Wish kid who was say this line.
Really?
Yeah, and they.
That's amazing. It's such a good line too. He's a friend from work. Yeah.
Yeah. So Thor and Loki both get trapped on this junkyard world ruled by Jeff Goldblum.
Being Jeff Goldblum.
Yes. And he's very weird, and that's good. My job here mostly has been to pick apart one small detail and ruin the whole movie.
Yeah,
and I will do that. My original intended job is to talk about the comics and some of the Easter eggs in the movies that you maybe didn't notice. So I want to talk about Beta Ray Bill.
Who?
Beta Ray Bill is an alien that, I don't know, he's like a horse alien, I think, and he he is one of the many people that has wielded the powers of Thor.
Ooh, like Throg?
Like Throg.
That's my favorite one.
Did we mention Throg?
I don't think we
Here,
did.
you know what? I think I have a picture.
Because I'm very...
It's a frog.
Okay, so just in case we didn't mention it, Throg is a frog, a normal frog. He's not like an alien that looks like a frog or something like that.
Beautiful.
He's a normal frog.
Yes,
that,
you can't see it, the picture.
Look it up. That's a Beanhole sketchphrase. Throg the frog. His actual name as a frog was Puddle Gulp.
Was what?
Puddle Gulp.
That's
His actual name.
It's a very interesting... Okay.
So here's the deal. When he was introduced to the Marvel Universe, Thor at the time was going around as Donald Blake when he wasn't being Thor. He was a doctor. He was. I don't want to get into all those details, but here's the thing. When Donald Blake needed to turn into Thor, he used his walking stick and smacked it on the ground, and the stick turned into his hammer, Mjolnir. Well, one day he did that, and a tiny splinter broke off of the walking stick, and a frog picked it up and smacked the splinter on the ground. And what do you know? Puddle Gulp was worthy of wielding the powers of Thor, and he got his own little tiny hammer and suit of armor and cape.
A tale as old as time.
And so he was a Throg that was that had all the powers of Thor, and that's great. So Beta Ray Bill, though, was not anything like Throg. He's just kind of a badass that can wield Thor's powers as well, and so in the what's Goldblum's name? The Grandmaster.
Yes, the Grandmaster.
So his like tower palace thing. There's a bunch of like heads, giant heads as decoration around it.
Yeah,
and one of those is Beta Ray Bill, like very clearly if you know the character.
What does that mean? Why is that important?
It's not even important.
Oh, okay, so it's just fan service.
Yes,
okay.
it is. This is
little...
just an Easter egg.
Well, that's nice.
But it's the kind of Easter egg, kind of fan service I like. It's there. You notice it if you care, and if you don't know anything about it, it's just a thing that's on the screen for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
It's not a plot point that actually doesn't make any sense, so I like that. Now, speaking of plot points that don't make any sense, this is the detail that I'm going to pick apart. I don't even really need to pick apart. It is established in this movie that the hammer helps Thor channel and focus his power, control it, but the power comes from within him.
Yes.
And so Mjolnir gets destroyed by his sister, Hela. They called her Hela in there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the actual original, like, mythological being they're referencing is Hel, not Hela. And that is where the name comes from for Hel. But she was an ice queen, underworld ruler kind of thing. Anyway, Hela destroys Mjolnir, and then Thor needs to go on his own little Dumbo journey and find out the power was inside him all along.
Which I gotta say is hilarious that they gave that plot to a superhero movie.
Yes. So here's the thing. Everything we've ever seen him do with lightning it's his own inherent power.
Mm-hmm.
How does the Grandmaster control him throughout most of the movie? Little electric shock.
Yeah.
They basically stick a joy buzzer.
Yeah, because because if I remember correctly, his powers activate when he's fighting Hulk, and he starts kicking Hulk's ass, and then the Grandmaster was like, "Whoa, no," and
Yeah.
then just like
Shuts it
activated
all
the
down.
shock collar. It was just like one little.
This guy's shooting lightning from his body, which we know from Emmett Brown is 1.21 gigawatts. But a 9-volt battery can short out Thor. Also, they should never remake, reboot, whatever. They should never do anything. Leave Back to the Future alone. But if they do, they should pronounce gigawatts correctly. That is all. I digress. So
for that.
That's my big problem. The fact that one of the largest, probably the largest obstacle Thor faces throughout most of the movie,
Kind of doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
And they
sense.
didn't have to make it be that. And that's all I can think about when I watch the middle of that movie. And otherwise, there is not a single thing wrong with it.
Is Hela a comic book character? I know like Death is a comic book character in the MCU, or not the MCU, in the comics itself, but like, is Hela herself a character?
I think Hela has been a character, but not she hasn't been Thor's sister.
Okay.
I couldn't find any instance of that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hold on. This might be a question that only Nate understands. I don't want to just assume that you don't watch Star Trek Discovery, but I'm gonna assume
You're
that you don't watch
gonna
Star
assume
Trek
correctly
Discovery.
that I do not watch Star Trek Discovery.
That's cool. Then Nate, does finding out that Thor has this undiscovered sister, did that feel as big of a betrayal to you as finding out that
Spock had a sister
undiscovered that no one ever
that
talked
wasn't
about?
even Vulcan,
Yeah.
and also wasn't related to him by blood. And
I feel like that's a bigger offense, but
well,
I
okay,
want to ask you.
yeah, I want to say, you know that I have a pretty low opinion of season 3.
That's
and
correct.
of season 1 of Star Trek Discovery.
But season 2,
Season 2 was wonderful, and so
show-saving,
when
I'd
I
say.
found out that the premise of this show was going to be that Spock had a sister we've never heard about, that broke my brain. Season 2 handled it well, and addressed why nobody was ever even allowed to talk about her existence. I just wanted to say that because it's not a problem for me anymore.
no, okay.
It was early on. Now the question you're asking is Hela being his sister, not at all a problem for me, because the MCU is a separate universe than the comics.
Yeah.
If it wasn't, if they were like, yeah, all this stuff takes place in Universe 616,
No,
which is the
ruin
main Marvel Comics universe,
all the content.
it would ruin everything. Like Thanos showing up would just be another Tuesday for the Avengers.
Yeah.
And yeah. So anyway,
Oh, well, that is very cash money. Let's move on to another great point from Brendan.
I mean, I don't really have like a lot negative about this movie to really say, because I know, like I said in the previous episode, that like in Guardians 2, I thought the humor was quite annoying.
Oh yeah, so it was very
through the
refreshing
movie.
for this movie to be just
For
out of the
this
park.
movie to be even more humor, and for me to like it more, was really weird when I first watched it, because like, when I saw the trailers for it when this movie first when the trailers for this movie came out, I was like, this is literally exactly what I didn't want. So I don't know how I feel about this, and I'm probably not going to watch it. And then I watched it at home before Infinity War came out, and I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, that's the whole reason why I like Taika Waititi so much, is because like is one of the few directors I can think of off the top of my head that can basically make an entire movie extremely goofy, but then when the movie does need to be serious in certain moments, it is, and it's effective, and I don't know, I really respected that. I think the only negatives I have for this movie itself is I was slightly annoyed at the way they handled Thor's friends dying, because it kind of just happened.
Yeah.
Right when Hela showed up, and Thor didn't really have a reaction at all. He didn't even they were a pretty big point in the Dark World, and they're the whole reason him and Loki even escaped with I can't think of Natalie Portman's character's name, Jane. The whole reason they escaped in the first place was because of his friends, and then they all just got wiped out basically immediately by Hela, and when he finds out, he's just kind of like, eh. So it's just kind of like, so that was kind of weird. But I think that's honestly really the only other thing. We didn't even address Korg, who is just...
Korg.
Who is Taika Waititi.
Exactly, yeah. Like, he is... Right when he first comes on screen, like, hello, I'm Korg, this is Meek, we're gonna get out of here. Wanna come? Like, hilarious. I love it. Like, we were gonna start a revolution, but we didn't print enough pamphlets, and, like, it's just great. I love the awkward humor that Taika is good at, and you see that in, his other works, like Jojo Rabbit and What We Do in the Shadows. It's so good, and it makes this movie really stand out above most Marvel movies that came before it, and even ones that came after it.
It's just a different level of humor than what you usually see.
It is, and I'm only hoping that Thor: Love and Thunder is at least, just as good.
Could you imagine if it was even more underwhelming than The Dark World? I'm not saying it will.
I'd have to. I would try. I would try to find every other excuse to not blame Taika Waititi if that happens. I'll be like, it was Marvel. It was Kevin Feige. It was someone.
It was definitely Feige.
It was anyone but Taika. But no, that's really all I have left to say about this movie. Like, everyone got the appropriate screen time I feel like they needed, and Carl Urban's little character that he has is great. I like him a lot too.
It was great, but like, why is that Carl Urban's part in the MCU?
Yeah, that's weird. Carl Urban,
pretty weird.
I think this is the worst role he's ever played, but that is not saying it's necessarily a bad role. I don't think the movie would be hurt by eliminating that character.
Oh no, he really wasn't like a major part at all.
But Carl Urban is he's different in everything I've seen him in, and the things I've seen him in are different from each other, and for our friends in Britain, they're different to each other. And
so inclusive over here on Take 47.
Absolutely, we gotta be welcoming.
Wait, now I lost what I was going to say.
He's different in every role he's in.
Oh yeah, but it's always like, I don't think he's ever been in anything bad, and it's very interesting to me that the only thing he's ever been that I watched and I was like, this is maybe bad, was the part in one of my favorite movies of all time. What's his name? Scar? Scratch? Stink?
Stunk.
So it's really funny because I know I just said I really liked this character, but
none of us can remember his name.
I don't remember his name. I just think Carl
Urban.
I
see you looking it up. Don't do it.
I just see
Don't
Carl
give into
Urban.
the satisfaction.
I mean, like, the only reason... I just love how, like, Hela just kills these two warriors.
Scourge.
Scourge, yes. I just... It's kind of weird how he was just kept alive and she's just like, I'm Hela. So she just introduced herself to just one person instead of the other two. She was just like, I don't like these guys. Let me kill them. And then, like, a perfect choice of music in this movie, too. I really liked, especially towards the end, the use of Immigrant Song. And I guess the beginning, because they used that song like 2-3 times.
Mm-hmm. And
it's about time.
This is the thing. That's what was the best for me about it. heavy metal music in general is I mean, it came out of the Norse region, and has always, since before any of us was born, has always used like Viking imagery and Norse mythology, and Marvel just didn't remember that until they were 3 movies in on the Thor franchise.
And they really missed the... What is it? Missed the bullet? Missed the train?
Missed the mark.
Missed the mark. Yeah, they really missed the mark on that one.
They really missed the toilet bowl on that one.
Really
I have heard that one too, actually. I'm not... So, let us segue into Black Panther then.
All right, directed by Ryan Coogler.
That's pretty cool, clear. Fair enough.
Oh my god.
All right, so what I like about Black Panther is that it's one of the few movies in the MCU that the villain, you like understand where he's coming from. He doesn't just show up or she, as the previous movie,
yes.
Doesn't just show up and be like, "Hi, I just like killing."
Mm-hmm.
And I think the universe would be way better off if I was in charge of everything and most of the people were dead. He's like, I don't like the way I'm treated because of the color of my skin, and I really, really, really don't like that it turns out that there's secretly a group of people that are the most advanced on the entire planet that look just like me, and they don't care about me, and they don't care about helping anybody, and like they're even worse than my own oppressors. And I mean, he has enough of a point that like after he's defeated, spoiler alert. After he's defeated, the heroes are like, yeah, so let's like do a lot of what he was saying, okay?
Yeah. Maybe I'm jumping the gun on where we're already headed with our discussion, but that was, I think, one of my big critiques is why did he kill himself at the end? That was the one part where I was like, oh, but... too bad.
Yeah. No, because if they left him alive, then there was no victory. If T'Challa is then like, all right, well, gee, we sure got off on the wrong foot, but now I want you to be my right-hand man, and also more like
after
I'm
all
your
the stuff
right-hand
that
man.
happened in the first place.
It didn't feel wrong on T'Challa's part. It felt wrong on like his own character part of like, oh, I tried to do my thing.
Yeah.
Oh no! Now that I got stood up to by this guy, now I'm gonna give up on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess kind of trying to think of it like.
But that doesn't ruin the movie for me whatsoever.
Yeah, he has a goal, and he has very clear goals. And I guess maybe in his mind, if he's like, if I'm not the one doing it, then I guess it won't be as effective, I guess. Maybe they won't agree with everything he wants to happen or he thinks should happen.
Well, I don't think he realizes how much T'Challa did take the message to heart.
Yeah.
At that point.
That
they
too.
were just physically fighting each other.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of speculation and a lot of just insistence on making this true. I don't know what I was saying. Your turn.
That's cool. I think that Black Panther is one of the stronger movies in the MCU. I know that some people had some problems with it. I don't even remember what those problems were.
I remember.
That's cool. I'm going to keep talking though. I was confused the very first time I watched it at their cold open. I had to watch it a second time before it really made sense to me, all the intricacies of what was going on there, but I don't really think that that's a bad thing. I think that Chadwick Boseman does an unforgettable job as T'Challa, and I think that he does an even better job at just displaying the character arc of someone that gets thrown into a position of very high power and doesn't really know how to succeed the person before him.
Yeah, there's been a big push from fans to bring Killmonger back. Like it was not exactly a clear and definitive death scene. He was just like, no, I'll die here, and like, okay, but didn't we
I thought he
just
cut
bring?
himself. Didn't he like stab himself?
Yeah, but didn't we just bring T'Challa back to life moments earlier in that same movie?
We did. He does get hurled off
well,
a waterfall,
okay.
so talks to a spirit and all that stuff. So I mean,
aren't those the plants all?
So you mean like as like to be like the quote unquote like new Black Panther type?
Well, there have been
or?
people pushing for that, although Marvel has made it pretty clear you can't trust them though. Like they flat out have lied many times just to hide what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But they have said that Black Panther 2 is, we're not recasting T'Challa, and we are going to have him be dead, and we are not bringing back Killmonger just to have somebody we know. It's going to be about the people moving on from T'Challa being dead, and most likely will thrust Shuri into the leadership role. Whether or not there even is really a Black Panther in the movie isn't clear. But at least from what they've said, they are not interested in bringing Killmonger back to be a hero.
Fair enough.
So
I also think that that's kind of good though, because if they did bring him back to be a hero, then it would kind of lessen this movie's point. I did air quotes. Y'all can't see the air quotes though. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate when they cheapen somebody's death scene or their
no point retconning things. I guess is my point.
But anyway, I do want to say one of the things I love about this movie is the celebration of various African tribal nations, and you see the cultures and the styles reflected, and I just think that's wonderful because for years and years and years I was on podcasts of just a bunch of white guys complaining every time that like a superhero was not just another white guy, and they made one of the coolest superheroes into one of the coolest movies, and I heard a lot of those guys shut up. So it's I really like that, and there was a lot of actual respect and accuracy for the cultures they were reflecting, which is weird in a way because Wakanda's not a real place, and all of the was it 4 or 5 major tribes there? They were specific.
I think it's 5.
I'm thinking 5 as well.
With M'Baku's tribe
yes.
there. So they were. It's weird to be so accurate representing cultures when they're only being represented inside a completely made up culture, but it's good.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know anybody who went in thinking that they were going to be well represented and then came out like, nope, that just more crap from Hollywood.
Because it wasn't. Okay, it was definitely. It was definitely about Black Power, I guess, advocating for that movement.
Yeah.
And it achieved that very greatly. My point is that it wasn't cramming that down the viewers' throats with all of the action as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why a lot of movies that try to push that point fail.
Yeah.
is because they have to remind you to be socially conscious while you watch the movie, instead of just letting you watch the movie and gather your own information and make your own ideas at the end of the 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
This movie did great. It I made my point. This movie did that.
Yeah, I mean, right?
All right. What do we got next?
Oh, are we moving on? Anyone else have anything to say about Black Panther?
No, you guys basically stole the show that whole time. I was just listening, I literally agreeing. I was like, yeah.
I feel like there was one other thing that I was going to say.
I really like Andy Serkis, and part of me wishes he was
in it more.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That could just be because I really like Andy Serkis just himself. But I did like the interesting, the museum scene with Killmonger and
that was a great
Claw.
Scene, yeah.
And
that's his name. Thank you. I've been trying
Ulysses
to think of that.
Claw.
Ulysses Claw. Yep. And I don't know. I really kind of liked the heist movie type dynamic with Killmonger and Claw, especially. That scene that Claw was supposed to get him to Wakanda or whatever on the plane, and then all of a sudden Killmonger turns on literally everyone, including someone who was quote unquote close to him.
Right.
So it was like
he has no allegiances.
Yeah, like he literally was just. I don't know. I really liked the build up of Killmonger getting to Wakanda, and then of course the scene of him being there, and he's like, yeah, by the way, I found Panther puncture wounds in my dad, and you just left me, and so I have the claim to the throne. And they're just like, you're lying. And he's like, actually,
No, I'm Panther.
Yeah.
I do want to say, Martin Freeman's character, talk about unnecessary.
He really was. I don't know, why.
I'll tell you why he is in this.
Oh God, I hope you're not going to say what I think you're going to say.
It is to give those same people I was talking about that get upset that at any hero that's not a white guy, to give them a person on screen to identify with, so that they have an into the movie. The thing is, it was not necessary, and that's a common filmmaking technique to give the audience someone to identify with, and it was totally unnecessary because it was too well made a movie. Other than that, you didn't need a cheap trick to suck somebody in. If they're that racist that they can't accept that the heroes of the film are all black, they're not coming to Black Panther in the first place.
Exactly.
That's a pretty good point. That's a pretty good point.
No, yeah, I mean that really is all I have to say about Black Panther. I do really like this movie.
All right, well, the next one on the list is Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is nowhere near as good as Black Panther.
I agree. It's a waste of Larry Fish. It is a waste.
It's a waste of a lot of people in the cast.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
But, it's there. You can watch it.
Everyone just saw this movie.
You know what? Pause this episode. Go ahead. Go on Disney Plus. Go to your DVD stack. Pick out Ant-Man and the Wasp. Brendan, shut up. I'm doing a bit. Go pick out Ant-Man and the Wasp. Throw it in your DVD player. And have a bad time. And then come back. And you can listen to us talk about why you had a bad time. That's it. That's my bit. You can talk now, Brendan.
Isn't Infinity War before Ant-Man and the Wasp? Because the whole end credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp is
I'm gonna go.
Hope Van Dyne and Pym getting snapped.
No, that was all part of his bit.
That's correct. Yep, it was all part of the bit.
Yeah, so we should...
I've come 360 on this.
We should wear long sleeve shirts and tuck them into our sweatpants.
We should do that.
So
keeps you warm.
So Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah, Infinity War, right?
The best Avengers movie.
This movie had a lot of pressure on it. before this movie came out, there was a lot of hype surrounding this. This was it. This was the big moment in the MCU, and I feel like, you know, if it really didn't live up to that, then it would just destroy all the build-up that was, of course, you know, that led up to that moment, similar to other things that have done that before, and, you know, like Game of Thrones and stuff like that, really failing in the last moments, which kind of lessens the impact of the entirety of the experience in general.
Yeah, you're right. It did kind of feel at the time, hearing about this movie, like, oh, if this fails, then all of the other movies that we watched didn't really have a point.
Well, yeah, because then you're always going to have that thought in the back of your head, like you're not going to get excited for the quote-unquote finale or, you know, the big grand end to everything that you're watching. There's no worthy end, so why do you want to watch it in the first place? Because you won't have a satisfying conclusion to wrap up the whole thing. Luckily, that was not the case at all with this movie. And, I mean, you and I, Cole, saw it together.
We saw it together.
And what an experience that was. Absolutely. Like, I mean, you bawled your eyes out towards, like, of course, in the big snapping scene.
Yeah, that was very emotional time.
I audibly gasped when Iron Man was fighting Thanos. And
you thought Tony was going to die.
I totally thought Tony was going to die. And little did I know I was one movie off.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I think you were actually.
Well, yes, technically in terms of three, yes, the 3 movies off, but in regards to the wrong
kid died.
Yeah.
Wait, is that from Walk Hard?
Yeah.
The Dewey Cox story?
Yes.
Wow, that was a complete non sequitur.
So no, like, but what did you think of Infinity War, Nate?
It sucked. I'm kidding. Infinity War, there was a lot riding on this because the Infinity Gauntlet was...
You had to hype yourself up there. Really, like, check to make sure it was all going to work before you...
I'm actually just trying to power through my toothache. The Infinity Gauntlet was the miniseries in '91, I believe, that this is mostly taken from. Most not just Infinity War and Endgame, but a huge chunk of the MCU. And so they called this Phase 1 through 3 the Infinity Saga.
Yes.
After the fact, they got halfway through all of this before they really decided that this is what it was going to be about. But when the Infinity Gauntlet series came out, there weren't a lot of big crossovers in the comics. There's Secret Wars 2, not a whole lot other than that. Mm-hmm. The Infinity Gauntlet brought the Avengers, Earth's greatest heroes, really brought them onto the galactic stage, and it wasn't even really the event. It wasn't even about the Avengers. It was about Thanos and Silver Surfer and Adam Warlock and a lot of these cosmic heroes that.
It's really interesting that we didn't see either of those characters.
Oh, it is pretty interesting. They talked about they teased Adam Warlock in Guardians 2, as we discussed last time, but yeah, they were not in there. There was a lot riding on that. This was one of the biggest crossovers ever. Introduced a lot of cool characters, or introduce those characters to a lot of people, and that for people my age, that was like the crossover, and it's of course once they realized, oh, we can work Thanos and the Infinity Stones into this. Thanos. They once Kevin Feige and his team realized that, they were like, oh yeah, because like these are the people that grew up with that, the people that were 10, 11, 12 years old with that thing, they have kids old enough to see these movies, but they are also excited about these movies. It's perfect. If they screwed this up, yeah, it would ruin the whole MCU.
For some reason, I didn't know that there was going to be a part 2. Well, you and I were kind of...
Yeah, I had no idea
both
who
didn't know
Captain
that there was an
Marvel was,
Endgame.
and I was very confused by the ending.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so like we thought going into this movie that this was going to be the movie where Thanos comes in, and this is going to be the movie where the entire conflict ends.
Yeah. And
I don't know why we thought that.
I'm not quite sure either. Nate, did they do a bad job advertising?
Yeah, did
that
they,
it was
like-
two
I
parts?
don't think that they didn't do a bad job, but they definitely minimized. It was public knowledge. Like you did not have to look hard to see that there was going to be another part
Yeah.
to this movie, but
I wasn't outraged.
No,
I was angrier at the end of the first Hobbit movie than I was than at the end of this one. If that makes sense to either of you.
No, I completely agree. Although for me, it's actually the opposite. I was more annoyed about the second ending of Hobbit than the 2 into 3 than 1 into 2. But
That's fair.
but I do completely agree with you. Like this one earned it rather than
Oh yeah, it really did.
The Hobbit and that whole rabbit hole that I'd rather not get into. I get exhausted just thinking about that. But no, like this was awesome. I mean, it starts off pretty much right where Ragnarok ends.
Yep.
And it's end credit scene with Thanos. Like they're all just sitting there like, yes, we did it. We saved the day. Like, look at us, you, me. You know, we're doing great. And then all of a sudden, Thanos' ship shows up, and half those people die anyway.
yeah.
And,
Half or all but 5?
well, because I guess some of them.
Oh no, some of them
they're
did
in-
get beamed out, right? By Heimdall?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, that whole beginning is this for most of the, I mean, most of this movie is very dark.
Mm-hmm.
Like you start off with
A massacre.
a complete massacre, and Thanos just kind of walking around going, "Yep, I'm on screen now. No more, you know, mustache twirling villains now. Like you guys are done." And then like, you know, of course, seeing like Heimdall die and seeing Loki die and seeing Hulk, who up until this point was a complete nonstop killing machine.
Yep.
I mean, that was one of the biggest points in the second Avengers movie is that, you know, Hulk is insane, and Ross even mentions that he's basically a walking nuke. But for Thanos to only have like 1 or 2 Infinity Stones and still kind of just put Hulk down without even using them was like this big moment. It was like a whoa.
Maybe
And I
we're
think
not
I think that was a
powerful
great
as
point to start off
we
on
are.
too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because like, you know, of course, like, you know, Thanos comes in and it's like, oh, we knew this was going to happen, but how strong is he though? And then when you see that happen, you take out one of the strongest Avengers, you're like, whoa, okay, so he really is a threat.
Makes you reevaluate the situation.
Yeah, so the whole movie, when it's basically just everyone losing over and over and over again, you're like, how are they even gonna like beat this? And it's even which makes it even more heartbreaking at the end when they really don't.
Yeah.
They don't win at all. This was the movie that our heroes didn't just get like, you know, knocked down or whatever. They were basically just they were gone. Some of them quite literally.
Yeah. I think it's been long enough that we don't have to worry about spoiling the end of Infinity War.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure everyone knows it, even if they didn't see the movie.
Right, absolutely. But, oh crud. Dang it, Nate, you passed it on to me. Now I can't remember my point.
Good.
You said good?
Mhm.
Oh, do you have a point to make?
No.
A cover for it?
Nope.
Oh. Alright. Well, then I'll just think for a minute.
Do you
This is a
guys?
great podcast.
Do you think that they handled the screen time of all the characters well in this movie.
As well as could possibly be expected. The dozens and dozens of characters involved, nobody was going to get was going to get the majority of the movie on them, other than Thanos. But the way that they made sure to pair different people up, it wasn't like, oh, the Guardians of the Galaxy are now showing up and they will all become friends with the Avengers and then they will all work together. It was like...
separate people, separate characters.
Yeah, like Groot and... was it Groot and Rocket ended up with Thor?
Yep.
Yes, they went with Thor to get Stormbreaker.
Yep. But yeah, just... and having Bruce Banner crash through the roof of the Sanctum Sanctorum, was that was this one, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Just having different people pair up together like that was outstanding, because you get new interactions and you don't have like the people that didn't see the people that didn't see Doctor Strange. It's okay that he's what?
I hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah, you and I
didn't
see it, and we both talked about that after Infinity War too.
So like having him with Iron Man and Spider-Man made it okay for people. You weren't just following this character you don't care about. You cared about him because of his interaction with the characters you do. Mm-hmm. And that was, so it's not just screen time, but how they made the characters interact with each other in order to make sure that you didn't have 20 minutes of movie at a time that you just didn't care about anyone on screen. It was very well done, and then half the universe died.
Yeah, no, it was great bringing a bunch of characters together and then deleting half of them and then making the next movie, half the characters, and then at the end just kind of bringing them all together. It really was a satisfying movie, and I completely agree with you. I do think the best team up really is Strange and Tony, because both of them were very arrogant in their own ways, so watching them bounce off of each other like that, it was very, very funny to watch, and it made me love Doctor Strange without even seeing his movie in the first place. Yeah. So
I wish I was looking for one line in their pair up, and having Peter Parker be there for it would, like, he could have said it and it would have been a great Easter egg for the comics fans. But there's a very famous panel of Marvel Comics that has Tony Stark and Stephen Strange interacting with each other, and I think it's Tony Stark that declares that they are awesome facial hair bros. And it's just such a glaring oversight that line was not put into this movie.
Wow, I can't agree more.
I do really like Strange's response when he's like, "Hey Doc, you're not moving your hair, are you?" And he's like, "Not at the moment." Like, suggesting that he's done it before, just kind of like, he
does have that power. But
I want my hair to wave a little bit, make myself look cool. And so now, like, it's just, it's kind of funny with us.
You wish you had that power, don't you?
I do wish I had that
power.
I wish I had hair.
We always wish we have like that, that like heroic, gust of wind that's like, that's in like every
for the background. Too.
Yeah. It is a really, really fun ride. What about you, Cole? You had a point that
I remember my point, Nate. At one point, I've said point too many times. you told me that you maybe thought, maybe this was just conjecture, that there was a different ending to Infinity War before it came out, and they changed it because they thought people were onto him. Do you remember telling me that?
Ooh.
Nope.
Really? It was about Vision? Like, that Vision had the Mind Stone? Or was it the Soul Stone, maybe, on Boromir?
No, he has the Mind Stone.
I know he does.
Oh,
I remember
never
me
mind.
telling
Yeah.
you, though, that,
Oh.
that it wasn't originally going to be that.
It's not about the ending of Infinity War, but about how they could proceed with Endgame.
Yeah.
The prevailing belief or the prevailing speculation early on was he didn't really kill everybody. Like we didn't see people die. We saw people turn into dust and float away.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of people speculating that what he really did was bring half of all living things in the universe into the Soul Stone, and that they could be brought back just by letting them out of the Soul Stone. And another theory was that the Reality Stone was used to create a second universe for the people that we thought survived.
Whoa!
That
And they're really
everybody,
the one.
yeah, everybody saw. But that was all just conjecture, and the fact is, if you can make a whole other universe for that, then that just really brings home how stupid his solution to limited resources in an infinite universe is to kill people instead of provide more resources. Because if you can provide another universe, you did it. So but anyway,
Plot holes.
I don't know. I don't think that they, like, after Infinity War came out, I don't think that they were like, oh no, people are onto us, we need to rewrite this.
Well, they did lie about the title of Endgame when people were like, it's Endgame.
That
They were
was
like,
so
no, it's totally
funny.
not Endgame.
Yeah, that was...
You'll just have to wait to see what it's called.
When you were like, when that was a reveal, that was like, wow, that was painfully obvious, wasn't it? We're in the end game now, fades away. Wow, that was literal. Quite.
That was multiple people that I spoke with right after Infinity War and or in that whole year between. I was on many podcasts and people were like, oh, what do you think the name's going to be? And I was always like, it's Endgame. They're lying. It's Endgame. Oh, they said it starts with they said the initials are what? DG. And
Did
I'm
they
like,
really say that?
Yeah, they said the initials for what it really is called are DG, and I was like, so they just like slid the letters over?
I was like, what?
No, not DG, DF, I think, or whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's just kind of flipping the letters around.
Yeah. I always knew it was going to be Endgame, and they it was so weird that they lied about it. But also marketing genius, because all I saw for like 3 days after they were like, yeah, okay, it is Endgame, all I saw was people on social, all social media was people talking about the movie and the title of the movie.
That is true.
And if they didn't lie to us and everybody knew that, then nobody would have been talking about it.
Yet again, unorthodox but effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now Ant-Man and the Wasp, maybe. How about that?
No, yeah. I mean, there's really not much else to say about a movie that was just... I mean, we've already talked about the best parts. I mean, we really don't need to, necessarily state the obvious that Thanos is a very well-written character, which, people were kind of annoyed about Endgame for certain reasons that we can, of course, bring up when we get to that movie in the first place. So, yes, without further ado, let's get to the movie that was nowhere near the, quality of really any Phase 3 movie up to this point. And it did kind of feel like a earlier phase movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp. So
a pretty boring villain.
Yeah.
A pretty boring movie. Nate.
Yes.
Or Brendan. Is it the writer? Is it their fault? Is it the fact that it's not the same person that started and left on the first Ant-Man?
I think that's a huge... Yes, Edgar Wright.
I couldn't remember his name.
I think that is a huge factor. Paul Rudd has a writing credit on this, and
really,
I'm sure it's because he improvised so many lines that they just had to make him one.
I think that might be true, but the weird they have this weird gang.
Who does?
In the movie.
Oh.
These weird gang members that they have to deal with that it's just when you're coming off of the most epic battle that you've ever seen in the MCU, that you're seeing everybody get their butt kicked by like you said, they used the filmmaking device of having the villain kick the butt of people that we never thought would see a defeat.
Said butt kicking.
Yeah. You see that, and then you come back, and there's a weird sort of effeminate gang leader. I love Walton Goggins.
That's a fun name.
Yeah. I love him in everything I've seen him in, except for that stupid show, The Unicorn.
And Ant-Man and the Wasp.
No, I still love him.
Oh.
I just but the character, it just was underwhelming.
Oh yeah.
For
it was.
For them to just be scared of a street level thug. The one movie after we're looking at a universal threat.
The release of this movie is really, really weird. Because it's nobody went to this movie. I mean, it didn't really do that well in the box office, did it? Or did it do well because everyone wanted to see the end credit scene? Because I know once the end credit scene was leaked,
it was one of the Marvel movies that got on Netflix.
Yeah, I feel like the end credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp was more watched than the actual movie itself, because everyone wanted to know. Obviously, we knew it was going to tie into Infinity War. Everyone just wanted to see what happened.
So the box office was $622.7 million, which is about half of Infinity War, but for Ant-Man, they definitely benefited from Infinity War being the previous movie, and I think that a lot of people that hadn't even seen the first Ant-Man or were only watching the Avengers movies or whatever, I think that this movie actually sealed the deal. For a lot of people, they were being told that by the quality of this movie, or lack thereof, that just stick to the big ones. They introduced the quantum realm with the Ant-Man movies.
Yes. It really is important moving forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's
with Kang. Is that his name? Kang the Conqueror.
Kang the Conqueror is coming from the quantum realm, or I believe. And I think that's happening. Is that happening in the third Ant-Man or the?
Multiverse of Madness.
Is that?
Maybe.
No, I don't know. Maybe it's in the Fantastic Four. They
That is
announced
true.
Fantastic Four.
I did see that as well.
But whatever. Kang the Conqueror is a big threat going forward. But Ant-Man, the Ghost. I don't know. It was just what I did like. What I did like about this is finally having.
We are struggling to talk about Ant-Man.
All too often, when you have a superhero with like one power or one quality, the villain in the movie is always just like the evil version of them. Whether we're talking in Iron Man, the first one had Ironmonger. And then the second one had the drones made by Hammer and
Whiplash.
And Vanko?
Ivan Vanko, something like that.
And it's just like, oh, well, even more suits of armor and they're coming after you. Thor fighting other Norse gods. Hulk and the Incredible Hulk fighting the Abomination.
So what does this have to do with Ant-Man?
Ghost doesn't have the same powers.
Oh, that's a credit.
That's refreshing. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't like that, in the first movie, he had to learn how to use his powers so that he could fight someone else who had the same powers. Yellow Jacket.
Right.
And,
it is a pretty lazy...
Well,
it's just getting old.
It's just old, yeah.
After the many, many movies, after a decade of movies from Marvel, it was nice to have, to not have the villain be the bad version of the hero, and even Black Panther didn't do that.
That's true.
That is true.
They just had him wear the other suit of armor that Shuri made in the beginning.
But
that scene where they were all fighting over the suitcase building was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. They did a lot of cool visual stuff, but the story just was not.
Paul Rudd did his own magic tricks.
That's true.
Wow. I mean, it does have very visually appealing. I mean, when you see the quantum realm, it is very, very cool to see, and it's nice that we kind of get a little bit more lore building of the quantum realm, both in this movie and, of course, in Endgame, and based on Phase 4, I guess we're gonna get even more knowledge about it. So I feel like this was a nice. I guess, kind of stepping off point in regards to building up the quantum realm, but that's really the only compliment. I mean, I like Paul Rudd, but that's basically all I really had to say about the first Ant-Man in the first place.
Yeah.
But
I don't enjoy this. I don't enjoy that there were two really cool, likable characters in the villains, Lawrence Fishburne and don't even remember who played Ghost or what her name was in the movie.
Me neither.
But you make us like them, and then they're villain, and then it turns out they're bad guys. All right, they just cheaped out with. They're like, okay, well, now that we know that it was all because she's sick, like, it's totally okay that they want to murder people. And, like, if I get cancer and I find out that, like, I don't know, someone else's adrenal gland might have the cure, I don't get to just go killing people. And I don't get to steal things. I don't get to destroy things. I go to a hospital.
You think this movie is in defense of that philosophy?
Yes, it absolutely
Yeah.
is.
Ooh.
I mean, they just were like, oh, okay, now that we know that you just don't want to die, everything you're doing is totally fine.
Yeah, all is forgiven. We'll help you.
Yeah.
It's too bad Thanos didn't take that approach. I'm sure the Avengers would have been much more helpful to him.
I agree. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to your favorite.
I actually don't want to. Let's just sit here for a little bit and not talk about Captain Marvel.
This was a controversial movie before it even was released and people watched it. As obviously, everyone remembers, it was, between the attitude of Brie Larson and some things that she said that, to be fair, certain media outlets definitely twisted her words.
I don't even remember that. It was just a bad movie.
Then, of course, having the movie be this kind of average origin story didn't exactly help it either. There were just a lot of things that were holding this movie back that I feel like even if the movie was really good, it still wouldn't live up to the quality of other Marvel movies. I don't hate Captain Marvel personally in the movie itself. It just wasn't really anything interesting.
Yeah.
You don't figure out her origin story as she goes. You pretty much already know it.
Yeah.
And you're just like, why are we watching her go through the stuff that we already know? And I think that's the biggest mistake, because now it's just like, okay, the audience is disconnected with the main character, and if that happens, then you're not really going to have an interesting movie in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just me. I don't know if you guys felt the same way.
Well, I've talked before about how I really hate when a movie relies too heavily on an expectation that the audience shares a lot of underlying assumptions, instead of showing it within the movie what you want people to care about.
Yeah.
So like, okay, I don't need a movie to tell me that puppies are like something we care about.
Yeah.
Like that. Okay. But I didn't really see any, I shouldn't say any, but I didn't see much of Carol Danvers?
Yes.
Carol Danvers. I'm always confused with Captain Marvel and Supergirl, because Supergirl is named Kara Danvers.
Yeah.
And
Okay, that's very confusing.
yeah. Oh, they did it on purpose. Like, they were fighting, Marvel and DC were kind of like poking each other with sticks over their...
That's fine. What do the puppies have to do with anything?
It was an example, Cole.
It was an example.
Oh.
If
I didn't get it.
Okay,
You're just saying that the movie doesn't... The movie should show and not just tell us, hey, you need to care about it.
Yes.
And
'Cause I'm with you on that.
so much of what she, what she is fighting and what she has a problem with, we don't see enough of it in the movie. Like, the fact that her commanding officer / trainer...
It was Dumbledore, right? Whatever that
Well,
guy's name
Oh,
is.
Jude Law.
Yeah. Sorry,
the,
Jude.
The fact that he was like a little hard on her in training her how to fight in one scene didn't do a lot to make me hate him. Like,
They do a bad job villainizing him.
yes.
Well, yeah.
And
it also
two, it didn't show that he was controlling her. It showed that he was pushing her.
Mm-hmm.
And there should have been more to show that was for show. And that he was manipulating her and controlling her. It just wasn't shown enough. And we were told, but her moment at the end, like, you're not controlling me anymore. It was like, this guy has barely been in your life for your whole time on this planet here, and sure, okay, like
it just
didn't make it feel, it didn't make it feel like I just didn't care, and I know that a lot of people did care because their experiences in life led them to be able to make that leap. It wasn't a leap for them. They go in knowing that guy is controlling her because she's a she and he's a he. And like I got it intellectually, but I just didn't feel it from the movie. Yeah. And but I know that, for example, my stepmother loves this movie because her life experience set her up for that whole thing. Like she could have seen just to the scene of "you're not controlling me anymore," and it would have meant something to her. You know, she wouldn't have even had to see any of the movie before it. And that's true of a lot of women I know, and so I'm glad that they liked that movie. But coming, a few movies later, let me rephrase that sentence. A few movies ago, we were doing Black Panther, which did show, I think, because I am neither black nor a woman. And the fact that I was able to really hook into that storyline in Black Panther, and the, what most of the people who loved what most people loved about that movie was the incredible, accurate, fair, respectful representation, and I just didn't see that with Captain Marvel, and that's my problem with the movie. Now, lots of fan service there with what they had Monica Rambeau, I think, was the daughter, right? And her friend was Miranda? I don't know. Anyway.
I don't know. That's all meaningless details to me. Like, this movie was bad because I didn't know who Captain Marvel was. Mm-hmm. I watched the movie, and I still didn't know who Captain Marvel was.
It wasn't... I feel like her journey wasn't as powerful as it should have been. Because, if you gave me a reason to genuinely, go, absolutely, there have been other characters in, other, female characters that I feel have had, I feel like I'm wording this terribly, journeys that you can relate to, or journeys that are, really rewarding and you feel their accomplishment. This movie didn't really feel like that to me, because it's just kind of right when she has all of her powers, she's just kind of unstoppable, and she was just like, oh hey, I have powers, and just laid waste. So I don't know, it just wasn't as interesting to me, because every character always has something to overcome in some way, and hers was just kind of a memory loss. And it's just really, like I said before, my biggest gripe is that we know her story before she does.
Yeah.
And if they change the order of how this movie plays out, and we did figure it out with her, I do feel like this movie would have been a lot better. But I mean, I don't know. That's like my biggest gripe with this movie, and then my second biggest is how Nick Fury loses his eye. I
like the payoff.
It's just in Winter Soldier, he has a line where he's like, "The last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye."
Yeah.
And it was like, at that moment, you were just kind of like, there was like a part of me at least that was like, so like what happened? And in this movie, when you see that he has two eyes, it's like, oh, okay, so like he's gonna have this moment where he trusts someone or whatever, and something happens and he loses it. And it ended up just kind of being a gag for this movie, and it just really, really just undermined how he lost his eye, I guess. I don't know. Like this.
Oh, that makes sense.
Those are like the two big things I don't like about this movie, and that's honestly really it.
It also really cheapens her performance in Endgame, I think. Or not her performance. I'm not talking about the actress. I mean that this movie ruins Captain Marvel for me in Endgame, because like this movie, we talked about it. Her accomplishments don't feel as weighty as we're told they are.
Yeah,
and then she walks around with this sense of self-righteousness in Endgame,
and it doesn't feel like earned.
It doesn't feel earned at all.
Which is,
are you aware that her scenes for Endgame were filmed before they started filming Captain Marvel?
I was aware that the movie was done when I saw Infinity War, or was almost done when I saw Infinity War, and like that it was just a matter of time before we got to see it.
Yeah. So the part of the problem
yes.
with her in Infinity War, I'm sorry, in Endgame, is that was her first time playing. She didn't even have the script for Captain Marvel.
I think she went too fast.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't. Why would they do that? Was there like a reason? Was it like a scheduling issue?
You know what?
Was it
I gotta say, I think all of the failings of this movie are that they didn't have. I don't think they had enough women involved in creating this character.
Oh shit!
They just were like Kevin Feige was just like, okay, well, we got to have a girl, right? Like we need to really branch out, and like they did okay with Black Panther, as we've said, but I just it wasn't good enough with Captain Marvel, because it just didn't suck you in if you weren't the person that was like finally like a female-led superhero movie.
Yeah.
And I thought Wonder Woman was better.
I
agree. I actually do really like Wonder Woman over this. But it is what it is, as they say.
And with that, I think that we should move on to Endgame, which I already started talking about a little bit.
Yeah, we've already kind of hinted at this movie, here and there. I mean, it was kind of impossible not to kind of name drop this movie a couple times.
What movie?
And I almost fell for that completely. No, this movie had even more pressure on it over Infinity War, because it was like Infinity War was such a high. Can Endgame either be up to par or top it? I personally don't think it did. I do think Infinity War is a better movie.
Yeah.
I liked Infinity War.
I was also, I think, way too harsh on this movie when it first came out and I saw it in theaters. Because for some reason, I didn't hate it, but I was very disappointed. And upon rewatching it recently, I felt bad for being so annoyed about it in the first place, because this time around, I don't know if it's just because I needed a good cry or something, but I cried in this movie like 4 or 5 times when I rewatched it. Don't even know, like, it was like happening on cue. Like, in the beginning with, Tony kind of losing his cool to Cap, and like the fact that he was basically all alone and was like, I got nothing, everything happened, everyone's gone, and I couldn't do anything. I don't know, that hit. There were a lot of emotional beats in this movie that really hit me, especially towards the end. That it just the waterworks. It just kept going, and I'm literally sitting there like, oh my god. I'm like, I don't cry at all in any movie I watch. like Lord of the Rings gets me a few times, and then this no other series has. But
that's interesting that you're talking about being harsh on it when you first watch it, because my suspension of disbelief was actually really strong while I was in the theater, and I fell hook, line, and sinker for the story. I wanted to be immersed in it, so I was. And when I was done with the movie, I was like, okay, now I get to pick it apart. And once I did, I found reasons to be disappointed with it, but I think looking back on it, it's still a really good movie that does some really good fan service. You were talking about Iron Man, though, and that was one of the things that stuck out to me as a reason to be disappointed. Was just I don't think they made as big of a deal as they should have about him discovering time travel.
Yeah.
That was kind of really quick. He was just like, what if we invert the Mobius strip? Oh, that unlocks
that
time
quite
travel?
literally is what if we just do this thing that nobody's done? Yeah. Then he did it, and he was like,
I was like, oh wow,
I'm Tony Stark.
That's really convenient, man.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And literally, I don't even know what that was representing.
What do you mean?
The Mobius strip?
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't know.
Because an inverted Mobius strip is a Mobius strip.
Right, isn't that the point of a Mobius strip?
Yes.
That it's one continuous thing. No breaks. No edges.
It's... For a couple times in the Marvel universe, I mean, we talked about this when we were talking about Iron Man 2 when he made a new element.
It gets a little campy.
It's just one of those things where, you kind of have to just turn off your brain when they go all out with this sci-fi stuff. Or, not sci-fi, I meant, science type stuff, and it's just
it is sci-fi, though.
Well, yes, that's true, but, trying to, I guess, make it in a semi-realistic view of it. You just don't really think too much of it, and you're like, yep, whatever, you just did it. You got time travel done.
Yep.
It is difficult to represent sciences that we don't have because they seem very foreign to us.
Yeah.
But I think that we have already seen pretty good representations of time travel so many times in 80s movies and stuff that we didn't need you to reinvent it for us.
Right.
Yes.
We're familiar enough with the idea that you could just be I don't even know. It just that way didn't feel right.
So this is what I thought. My initial reaction to him saying that, invert the Mobius strip. My initial reaction was wow, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. and then I was like, oh, they probably meant it to be, because first of all, you ever watch hacking scenes in
I'm in the
TV show? Yeah.
Where they just slam the keyboard a few hundred times and they're hacking the mainframe. Yeah.
So
looking at 5 different
people
monitors.
that write those scenes and direct those scenes, it's like a joke in Hollywood. How ridiculous can we make it? How obviously not correct can we make this and still have people even let us put it in our movie or TV show?
Oh, I'm the stupid one? Well, that can't be. I reject your theory.
So what? Have you ever watched NCIS?
Yeah, they have that a couple of times.
They have a scene.
It's the show where they're enhance, right?
Yeah.
Which one of them? CSI was the one that really made enhancing famous, but NCIS is there is a scene that is like the winner for stupidest hacking scene. There's two people trying to defend against a hacker who's attacking their naval base computer system, and they're like, there's a man and a woman, and one of them's like, we need to hack faster. So they get all four of their hands on the same keyboard and just mash.
Oh, you showed that to me.
Yes.
Yeah, they treated it like someone
Yes.
was sitting next to them
Yeah.
on the piano bench.
Yeah. So that is a proud tradition in Hollywood, and there's a similar proud tradition that even predates it from things like Doctor Who and Star Trek. Just smash a bunch of sciencey words together, and to the dumb people that watch our show, it will seem good. It will seem like we're talking science.
Yeah.
And so things like reverse the polarity of the neutron flow gets put out into our brains, and that doesn't for the neutrons don't have polarity.
Isn't that the
kind
point?
of that's kind of the point. But that's just the thing you say. So I really think that this was just like a sci-fi fan Easter egg. It wasn't
Right,
like
you changed my mind
cluelessly
about it.
stupid. It was purposely stupid.
That's an interesting perspective to have. Thank you for that.
I don't even know if I believe it, but
Oh.
that's what
I mean, if it
that's
changes your
that's
view
how
on
I ended up not throwing up in the movie.
nice.
I also had a problem with Fat Thor that I think that we talked about.
There are a lot of controversial decisions for certain characters.
I think it's really funny that Fortnite is canon.
And
that means that it's even weirder that Thanos is canon in Fortnite. Like,
I'm
what?
sorry, but when you have Infinity War dropping a decent amount of profanity through, you hear Strange call Tony a douchebag. You hear, you hear so screwed. Like, just we've heard profanity before, and in that scene, despite the fact that I personally do not like Fortnite, but it just feels so cringy because all of a sudden, Korg literally just says, "Hey Thor, he called me a dickhead again." Okay, you just heard, and then all of a sudden, the gamer tag that they had for the Fortnite player was Noob Master 69,
Yeah.
or like whatever it was, and then like Thor going on a rant about like shoving it up your butt. It felt like a very childish scene, to me at least, compared to like the rest of really just the MCU. It just felt very out of place.
Yeah, for a
But, like,
franchise
I
that
don't-
takes itself very seriously, they let their guard down, and that
Well,
was
even in
kinda
the movies
jarring.
where it doesn't take itself seriously, it just felt so. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's weird. It really bugged me the first time, and it bugged me even more the second time I watched it. But I mean, in regards to the character decisions, a lot of people, or I wouldn't say a lot, but there is a vocal amount of people that don't like that the whole Professor Hulk. A lot of people don't really like that. Bro Thor was another thing that wasn't really that popular.
What did you call him?
Bro Thor is
Bro
it's
Thor.
literally what they call him. They call
That's
him
right,
Bro Thor.
Okay.
And they also didn't like that Thanos from Infinity War is killed in the first 15-20 minutes of Endgame.
Yeah.
And
Not what I expected.
I
was gonna happen.
agree with the Thanos part, and I agree with the Thor part. I don't hate it as much as I feel like other people do, because some people just straight up despise it. I've been, between reading comments and articles and stuff like that. I don't know. What did you guys think of these certain character choices?
I feel almost opposite.
Really?
Not
Opposite to what?
almost opposite. So I hated how they implemented Professor Hulk, because
that was pretty poor.
in the comics
There it is. There it is. Now I'm interested in make me hate Professor Hulk.
Okay.
Please.
In the comics, there were multiple personalities in Bruce Banner's mind. It was a result of just a ridiculous amount of abuse at his father's hands as a child. It fractured his mind. Whether or not that is psychologically accurate has always been up for debate, but there was a guy named Doc Sampson.
Is this comic or real life?
Comic.
Okay.
Wasn't he in, or am I thinking of someone completely different? Wasn't there someone in Incredible Hulk that was named Sampson?
There might have been.
I don't remember. I don't know. He was turning into something in that movie.
So
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. But Doc Sampson was one of the people that was exposed to gamma radiation. For him, it didn't like create a Jekyll and Hyde situation like the Hulk had. It didn't create an abomination situation where it's just like stuck in a very monstrous body but very intelligent. He just kind of got jacked. He had long green hair, and mostly he worked as a psychologist. So, in the comics where they unified Bruce Banner's personalities, there was the Green Hulk, there was the Gray Hulk, aka Joe Fixit, and the Gray Hulk was a slightly less strong, but much smarter and very cold and calculating. And he's a good strategizer, really. And so that was a totally separate personality. And then there was Bruce Banner, who was physically ineffectual, but one of the most intelligent men on the planet. And Doc Sampson hypnotized him, helped him work through all the causes of his psychological problems, and next thing you know, he's the Hulk, but like he's physically a tall, strong, green guy, but he had all of the qualities of all of them. So he was as smart as Bruce Banner. In scientifically speaking, he was as charismatic and manipulative as the Gray Hulk. He was just about as strong as the Green Hulk, but like with all the other qualities, he had his anger under control. He was a complete person. In MCU, he's like, we always, the Hulk and Bruce Banner, like, we always kind of fought for control. And so, like, I went to the lab and worked it out. And how did he work it out? Hulk just was like, it was basically Bruce Banner possessed the Hulk. He was like an averaging of them instead of something that's greater than the sum of its parts. And they're just like the fact that it made for a funny scene when they ended up going back in time and he saw himself smashing things, but like the fact that he wasn't even capable of getting into it, that's not Professor Hulk. That's just Bruce Banner in a muscle suit. And And so that's why I hate Professor Hulk. Because they could have fixed him, and instead what they said was like, oh, yeah, Bruce Banner is already the correct way that a mind should be, and it would just be nice if he had some extra strength and size. And he did it in a lab, not by dealing with his psychological problems. I don't like that. Speaking of dealing with psychological problems, this is why I loved Thor.
You brought me around on this one.
We just talked about how he had no reaction to all of his friends dying.
Mm-hmm. That's the reaction.
He had shit to do.
Yeah.
And then once that shit was done, or couldn't get done, he went into a deep depression. And in many ways, they really pretty accurately represented someone who is depressed. It's not that you're guaranteed to gain weight if you're depressed, but you are almost guaranteed to have your weight change in one direction or another.
Don't you agree, though, that they should have just put Fat Thor in the trailer? Sorry, Bro Thor in the trailers?
Yeah, I think the fact that they hid it...
like, that definitely made it seem more suspicious than it was.
Yeah.
I feel like, if anything,
problematic.
the whole reason... It's not the fact... At least in my case, it's not the fact that he is overweight or anything that bothers me. I feel like it's more that it was... I mean, there were absolutely scenes where he really was just an emotional wreck. I mean, of course, you see that when they go back to Asgard, and you see that when he tries to explain about the Reality Stone and all that stuff. I just feel like the times that he was used as like a punchline, I guess, were kind of annoying.
Yep. And that
so
that actually was my problem with it. It's just like, it was a pretty accurate portrayal of someone who's been through a lot and is struggling with depression, and that's why he's funny. Yeah, that was something that bothered me. But I thought they often treated him with respect, even through all that, and like him talking to his mother.
That was nice. I do really like that scene too.
Yeah. Killing Thanos right off the bat was it was a shock, but I think that it did exactly what they intended. Like, they wanted it to feel like a letdown, and what the hell's happening now? We're 10 minutes into the movie and they beat the guy, but nothing changed. Like, I think it's very off-putting, and that is what they wanted, and they achieved it. It's afterward that things could have been done a little bit better, and it's just everything could have been done a little bit better in every way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's I still like the movie a lot.
I agree. I do really like the movie as well. I mean, the whole ending, right when Hulk snaps his fingers, from then on is awesome.
Yeah.
That whole experience, I really liked. I completely forgot to mention this, and I know I was just about to talk about the end, but for me to talk about the specific thing I was talking about in the end, I would have to mention the beginning. I mean, the beginning is super
Are you losing
strong.
your mind?
I am losing my mind. No, the beginning is really, really strong, and it starts off with Hawkeye losing his entire family.
Oh yeah, that's such a shocking cold open.
Like from then on, his transition into Ronin, right?
Yep.
Is that his name?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, did they ever? I don't think they ever even called him that, though. There's so many times.
I think he's called that once.
Okay.
Because when he's in Tokyo, the guy that he was sword fighting with calls him Ronin for like
it's a throwaway
or something
line.
like that. Yeah. But like I really like that they gave Ronin a lot to do.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, I really liked the build up that they have with him, and just everything at the end in general to me is pretty much. I mean, it's exactly what I wanted. Mm-hmm. Even though it is completely heartbreaking for me because I'm a very, very big Iron Man fan, but it's like in a good way. Like, obviously I didn't want him to go, but of course, what happened. I do really enjoy the movie.
Do you think that every Avenger ends on their best character arc? Maybe not even their best character arc, but do you think that they all resolve their biggest issue? Like, the reason that they were...
Well, define Avenger, because, like,
there's a lot.
Are we talking about the hundreds and hundreds
No,
of people?
I'm talking about, like, the people that lived, the people that they're retiring now. I'm talking about
Iron
Man,
you mean
I'm
like
talking about
Captain America. Is Mark Ruffalo done being Hulk? Was that the last time we're seeing him? Did they ever confirm that?
They never confirmed. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure he's in the She-Hulk TV series.
Yes, that's right. They did confirm that.
Thor still has one more movie. So.
Yes.
I don't know if he's like a major character, like a main character, if he's going to be in many episodes, but he's... She-Hulk's origin is that she gets a transfusion from her cousin, Bruce Banner, that saves her life, but then turns her into She-Hulk.
Okay. I guess to answer your question, for at least in terms of Cap and Iron Man, I think both of them had very good ends. I mean, Tony's whole thing, it's one of the lines that Cap says in the first Avengers, like, you're
not the guy to make the sacrifice.
Yeah, right? You're not the kind of guy, to lay down on the wire and let everyone crawl over you. Mm-hmm. And he ends up basically the rest of the MCU up until Endgame is desperately trying to prove that, like, he can be better and all that stuff. And of course, that's why he's so attached to Peter Parker. He's trying to be this really good guy, and then it just he did the ultimate sacrifice play. Mm-hmm. And Cap basically just really wishes he could have that dance with Peggy for most of the MCU, and like really wanted to go back to his time period. And like you feel that in every Captain America movie, that they made. And I think it is a really satisfying conclusion for him as well, for him to just, he did everything he had to do in this, time period. Now it's time for him to go back, fix everything that needed to be fixed, and then, excuse me, and then just live out the rest of his life, for the most part, with Peggy.
I remember being pretty upset about his ending, too. I remember
really?
telling you about that. I don't remember, really, I was just about to say that I don't even remember why, because I'm not upset about it anymore, but...
Well, a lot of people are upset because they feel like he shouldn't have been able to get back there as an old man. Like, it doesn't make sense with how they understood the time travel rules. Like, if you change something, then you're in a new universe and you can't get back to...
That is something that he literally said, yeah.
Okay. But all the 99% of people that I've talked to that have a problem with that, like, you're all morons.
Why?
They said changing something big, like removing an Infinity Stone from the timeline, will create an alternate universe. Steve going back and secretly living a life with the woman he loves doesn't have to change anything else. Everything could have happened the way that we see it, and I think that is what the intent was. And I think even the Russos are wrong, because the Russos said, like, oh yeah, he must have had like that didn't make sense, and he must have gone back to he must have had to go back in time all the way in order to, like, before he split off from a new universe from the timeline, and then he can travel forward, and like that still doesn't doesn't work either, and like they just didn't read it closely enough or didn't pay attention to their finished product anyway. It all makes perfect sense. Time travel can happen without creating an alternate universe, but some things do create an alternate universe, and some things break everything and destroy a universe. But that made sense. It made total sense to me while I was watching it, because I heard them say removing an Infinity Stone. Nobody ever said if you go back in time and change anything at all,
yeah, I mean,
then you're going to not be able to be in this universe.
I mean, Hulk would have stopped them anyway if that was the case, obviously, because
Yep.
he already made such a big deal about Rhodey saying, "Why don't we just go back when Thanos is a kid and just kill him?"
Yeah.
And that was a funny scene. I do like that as well. So I mean, Endgame overall, I mean, I pretty much think we've discussed everything.
Yeah.
Cole, did you have any last, your closing statement for Endgame?
Not really. But I guess I will then. I thought that Endgame was a good closer. Like, I honestly think it's weird that they group Far From Home in with this final phase, because
I agree.
I don't know. I've already said that Far From Home isn't my favorite movie. I just thought that it was a good closer, and I saw it and I was like, I am done now. That was really good, and I'm good. I'm done.
A satisfying conclusion, which is more than we can say for quite a few pieces of media the past 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, that's really all we can ask for.
Yeah.
Hopefully Phase 4 is building up to something good, or just starts off good, or is good in general. So, I mean, now we just discuss which, again, like you said, is weird, that this is the last Phase 3 movie and not Endgame.
I think Nate said, it's an epilogue.
It's an epilogue,
Yeah, which I agree.
They're solving they're solving the problem that they created, which is that everyone thinks Spider-Man's Tony, and he doesn't know what to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Spider-Man Far From Home.
So, I don't think that this movie did enough to establish that Peter Parker is a genius in his own right. That to break away from what they did with the first movie, I don't think they did enough to do it, but they did make an attempt, and you can infer that, like, maybe Peter Parker is the only person other than Tony that has ever been able to use that suit building computer fabrication thing, and you can infer that from the fact that Happy is so happy to see him doing it, and that he hasn't seen other people doing it before, and that's toward the end, obviously, but yeah, there's just so much that this definitely was supposed to kick off Phase 4. Like, it's so clear that changes so much. Having Nick Fury not be Nick Fury.
It made me angry. Brendan likes to bring up how it made me walk out of the theater.
Yeah, you were already all the way down the stairs after they revealed Peter's identity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then when the end credit scene happened, you came back from the wing into like the front of the stairs.
Yeah.
And then right when that ended, you just turned around,
Yeah, I did.
you threw your
Did
hands
like a
up in the air
double
like
take.
this and just walked out.
So, yeah,
It's just too much of a bold play. My brain couldn't take it.
And I'm not really, like, is anybody clear on, was Nick Fury
always that? Is that a different Nick Fury?
Like
yes,
when
I'm
was
also
it
asking
when
these
was it
questions.
Skrull Fury
Right.
versus real Fury?
I feel like the scene in the barn in
is like
in
the
Age of
first time
Ultron.
it's-
I feel like that had to have been Talos, the Skrull. I feel and anything after that. What I don't know was
Oh my gosh, did Nick Fury really die in Winter Soldier and like they just replaced him after that?
No, because
why would he be on the ship?
Yeah, remember he was on the ship because
In
he
the
was
credits, he was
vacationing
Yeah, you're
on a
right.
lounge
You're
chair.
right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But
So was it Skrull Fury that got snapped and not Nick Fury?
who knows? Nobody knows.
Oh.
They haven't made it clear. Maybe they never will. Maybe in 50 years we'll all be sitting around a microphone talking about how they finally addressed them.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
So yeah,
I'm gonna sneeze.
great,
Oh, now that I said it, I'm not gonna sneeze.
cool.
Okay,
Even
anyway.
better. So I guess we're working backwards. No, the
Oh yeah, we're starting with the after credit scene.
yeah, the
That is, yeah.
okay. So like the second Spider-Man adventure, Spider-Man and Peter Parker go to Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
and then they go to Europe with like this whole night monkey thing, which that's funny, but nobody was fooled. And then also you totally showed up as Spider-Man too. Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Far From Home.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like everywhere Peter Parker goes, Spider-Man's there too, and only MJ's smart enough to pick up on it.
Didn't Flash Thompson point it out too, and then everyone was like, you're just stupid.
Yeah.
I think the joke is that he is very oblivious to it and is praising Spider-Man
Oh, yeah.
and hating Peter.
Yeah,
Wasn't that the
absolutely.
joke?
Well, yeah, but I'm pretty sure there was also a line where it's like, isn't it kind of weird that... Oh, I don't think he thinks Peter is Spider-Man, but he always points out that Peter disappears, because he made that point when
Oh
they were in...
yeah, you're right. You're
yeah.
right about that.
When they were in Far From Home. I think my biggest problem with this movie is my suspension of disbelief was really just...
I'm glad you're
stretched
going to
thin.
bring it up. You're going to talk about the logistics.
Well, I
of
mean, we
field
had a
trips,
whole
right?
episode about this,
Yeah.
forever ago as well. It's like,
You know how when you're on a field trip, somebody can just be like, "Hi, we got everybody tickets to go somewhere else."
yeah, like, I don't understand
No questions asked.
why the whole movie, every single character, except for everyone who's in on, like, the major plot involving the elementals and stuff, is just stupid. I don't understand why the teachers are suddenly like, "Hi, yes, we got upgraded tickets, even though we literally just had a monster attack where we were. Now we're going to go to another area instead of just going home," because, it's not like everyone else's lives were completely endangered. But whatever, we'll just keep going on this field trip. I don't get... And I don't understand why Tony made Edith
The glasses.
this massive killing machine
Yeah.
when he literally, in the first movie, stops weapon manufacturing.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden he makes an entire drone system that's capable of wiping someone out with just casually saying, like, eliminate.
Yeah.
And they're automatically like, yep, we're sending an orbital strike down literally this instant. It's like, whoa, what? I don't really get that either.
Yep.
I also don't understand. I also don't understand why. I mean, you had this conversation, or you had this brought up when we were, I think we were talking about Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
Why they kept advertising Mysterio as a good guy, and kept trying to say, no, he's totally cool, when everyone knows one of the biggest Spider-Man villains is, Mysterio doesn't even sound like a hero name. It sounds like a villain. There's,
Riveting.
No, the I was particularly pissed that even after he's dead, they're continuing the whole, like, undoing Tony Stark's character development from the previous film just to set up a current one. Yeah, every single Iron Man movie is about how he shouldn't be Iron Man, and he always is, even more, even after he's dead.
It made for a funny gag. Yeah. Even dead, I'm the hero.
Yeah. I like, for Peter, I do like that they had sort of the whole world putting this expectation on him.
I agree.
But I think it would feel like that to him, but I don't think that the average person in the MCU, just an average person on the street, I don't think they're going to see all the news stories about everything that happened and everybody come to the conclusion that Spider-Man is the next Iron Man. It just doesn't make sense. That information about their relationship and the nature of Spider-Man's powers and the fact that he sometimes had
so
an armor suit. Yeah.
Nobody
would know all this stuff. Yeah. If it was the Avengers putting that in, like, but again, why is he the next Iron Man? Because Peter Parker is a genius, except they didn't really make that true in these movies. It's just dumb. Now, yes, we already went over. We're 2 hours in. We don't need to rehash the fact that Mysterio, it was obviously the villain, and that they sometimes are stupid with their marketing. But I need to talk about the way this movie ends, and is it real? Does J. Jonah Jameson come on the world's largest TV? Side note, why do all movies that have, like, electronic billboards think that there's a giant sound system and that people, like, stand around Times Square watching the news together?
I mean, I literally lived in New York and they don't. Like, right. Anyone who has been to Times Square even once is like, no, there isn't.
Yeah. But sure, maybe something big enough happens that they put the news up on that. Maybe. I don't know. I wasn't in New York City on 9/11. But they just don't have the sound system there. Like, you're not going to hear it.
Yep.
So anyway, but that happens apparently in the MCU. And so J. Jonah Jameson outs a high school student that nobody's ever heard of, including him, as Spider-Man. Like, it doesn't make sense. So if that's setting up the third one, that's confirmed to have multiple different people in it from other movies, the other Spider-Man franchises, then cool. Like, if he simply isn't in the MCU, or if he's somehow trapped in Mysterio's illusions still or whatever, that's fine. Mm-hmm. That's fine for explaining why he saw Jameson do that. But it kind of makes this movie even worse.
I completely agree.
And that's where I'm at with the end of Phase 3.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, we really don't have much else to cover with this movie.
No, we've said it before. I don't really think that we need to say it again. I think that this has reached... just... You're going to make me say it again?
Yes.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Lost my train of thought now.
Well, pull into the station of thought. I don't know.
The
Just
station
just talk.
of thought.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. All right. Well, yeah, this is going to be the end to our second part of the third phase of our Marvel review. And should we rate them? And we did that with all the other ones.
That is true. We did do that.
Okay.
All right. So yeah.
Wait, did we rate them or did we rank them?
Rank them. Yes, we ranked them.
Oh yeah. So there's Captain America: Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Spider-Man 2, Thor 3, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man Far From Home.
I feel like it's easier to eliminate the ones that we like the most first.
Sure. Infinity War.
Infinity War, Ragnarok, Civil War. Maybe.
I
mean,
Oh my gosh, I was wrong. It's both Spider-Man are in this. It's Spider-Man 1 and 2. I'm stupid. Big stupid. I don't know. There's so many movies for this one.
Oops.
You
I did
scrolled way
not
too
know
far
that
up.
was going to scroll that much. All right.
You guys think that the worst is Ant-Man and the Wasp or Captain Marvel? Or Far From Home?
I think
Those are my
Captain
lowest
Marvel.
three.
I think Ant-Man is the worst. Actually, I think Spider-Man is the worst.
Oh, shoot. You literally said, I think Captain Marvel is the worst. Nope, I think Ant-Man and the Wasp is the worst.
It's Spider-Man,
that Spider-Man's
Ant-Man and
the
the
worst.
Wasp, and Captain Marvel. Spider-Man's the worst, actually.
Yeah.
I think I no objections there.
Maybe it's easier to just do this. I think we each all said, too, that Avengers Infinity War was better than Avengers Endgame.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we all also agreed that Spider-Man Homecoming was better than Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yes.
We thought that Black Panther was better than Captain Marvel, and I think that we can all agree that it's one of the better movies in this phase.
What was what?
Black Panther.
Black Panther.
Oh, yeah.
Thor Ragnarok, we all agreed, was hilarious and deserves to be praised for that. Guardians 2 is a little bit underwhelming, but not the worst movie. Doctor Strange was great.
Doctor Strange was
visually
way
pleasing.
better than Guardians of the Galaxy, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Captain America: Civil War was a great Captain America movie. I don't know. What? What?
I don't know. I was trying to
you're
rank
actually
them
gonna
like
try
you
and rank
said,
them?
and you're just quickly listing off things in
Okay.
any random order.
I'm sorry.
So I'd say Infinity War is the best out of
agree.
all of them.
Yep.
And I would say
I think either Thor Ragnarok or Doctor Strange should go next.
Thor Ragnarok. I would say Black Panther goes next.
I'm fine with that.
And
Thor R.
Endgame or Doctor Strange.
I like Doctor Strange more than I like Endgame, if I'm being honest with you.
That's a tough call. I'm fine with either or, because I mean, no matter which one we pick, it's just. I mean, the next one's just going to be
The one
we
right
didn't
after.
pick, yeah.
What'd you put?
I put Doctor Strange above Endgame. All right, and
Do
now
you agree with us, though, that Thor Ragnarok is the second best in this phase?
I do.
Okay.
I absolutely do.
Okay. I didn't want to leave you out of that
No.
discussion.
I completely agree. This
I think
list
then
is pretty
Civil War
accurate.
and
Civil
then
War.
Guardians.
I think I agree with that. Sure.
Because I think those are the only two other movies that you haven't put down yet.
That's the second time that I went to draw a 2, and I ended up with a question mark.
Well, it looks like it's just as confused as you are.
And Spider-Man Homecoming.
You put that one on there. Oh, no, not Homecoming. You put Far From Home on there.
Yes.
All right, how many
How many movies?
movies total?
3, 6, 9, 11.
Okay,
Yep,
cool.
we're good.
Here it is. Infinity War. Infinity War.
Infinity War Thor.
Thor Ragnarok. Black Panther. Wait, we need to do this in reverse order. The worst movie
Yes.
is Spider-Man Far From Home.
Agreed.
Then Ant-Man and the Wasp. Then Captain Marvel. Then Spider-Man Homecoming. Guardians 2. Civil War. Now we're definitely into the better half.
No. Spider-Man Homecoming is better than Guardians 2. I'm sorry. I'm changing my mind. You guys don't have to change the list or change your minds, but I'm changing mine.
Cool.
Sorry,
Civil
so
War,
fair enough.
Endgame, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Thor Ragnarok, and then the best of the phase, if not the best of the entire franchise thus far, is Infinity War.
I completely agree.
Yay!
Cool.
We are done. So yeah, that is our entire discussion of the MCU Revisited. Thank you all very much for listening. This pretty lengthy episode, but I mean, hey, we got to talk about them all. And as always, we will catch you guys on the next Take 47.
Later!
Thank you, Nate, for joining us on this very long journey talking about all the Marvel movies. All right, peace out, everyone.
Bye.